Of all the comforting rituals of a Sunday evening, there are few quite like the familiar theme tune of the BBC's Antiques Roadshow. It's a signal to settle in, a promise of hidden treasures and forgotten histories unearthed from attics and garages across the nation. We watch, captivated, as everyday people present their heirlooms, hoping for a surprising story or a life-changing valuation. But every so often, an item appears that transcends the usual porcelain and paintings. An item so iconic, so wrapped in cultural legend, that it silences the crowd and leaves even the most seasoned expert breathless. This was one of those nights. The legendary Fiona Bruce, with her characteristic warmth, set the stage for something truly special. In the early 1960s, she began. Former RAF officer and aviation innovator Ken Wallace designed and piloted a compact, highly maneuverable gyrocopter. The camera panned to a small, almost toy-like aircraft, a marvel of engineering painted a cheerful, buttery yellow. For millions watching, a spark of recognition ignited. This wasn't just any gyrocopter. This was Little Nellie, James Bond's personal aerial ride from the 1967 blockbuster, You Only Live Twice. Standing beside this piece of cinematic folklore were two guests, the children of the great Ken Wallace himself, and waiting to inspect it was movie memorabilia expert Stephen Lane, a man who has seen his fair share of props and costumes. Yet the look on his face was one of pure, unadulterated awe. This wasn't just a prop, it was the real deal. So when you think about James Bond, Stephen began, his voice filled with an infectious excitement, you think about the guns, the gadgets, and the vehicles. And what a vehicle this is. He gestured to the gyrocopter, a physical link to Sean Connery's golden era as Agent 007. You Only Live Twice, 1967, and this custom gyrocopter that features so heavily in the film. But Stephen, ever the curious expert, wanted to know more about the machine itself. I know that this is an Autajiro, but what exactly is an Autajiro? He asked Ken Wallace's son. The explanation that followed was a beautiful, heartfelt tribute to a father's genius, delivered with quiet pride. An Autajiro, he explained, is a fascinating hybrid, a creature of the sky that exists somewhere between an aeroplane and a helicopter. Unlike a helicopter's engine-driven rotors, an Aotajiro's blades spin freely, turned by the air rushing past them as the rear propeller pushes the craft forward. It's this passive lift that makes it so unique and agile. It was a simple explanation for a complex piece of machinery, but it perfectly captured the innovative spirit of its creator. The real heart of the story, however, was in how this incredible invention went from a British airfield to battling Spectre's forces in the skies over Japan. Well, my father designed and partly built it back in 1962, the guest shared. The Bond producers got wind of this remarkable machine and invited Ken for a trial run at the legendary Pinwood Studios. The producers weren't just impressed, they were utterly captivated. The next thing is they were rewriting the script, he said, a testament to how extraordinary Little Nellie was. The film was literally altered to give this amazing Autajiro its moment in the spotlight. What followed was the kind of adventure worthy of Bond himself. Ken Wallace was filming for another project in Rio when the call came. He was to fly directly to Japan to begin shooting the aerial sequences for You Only Live Twice. The final cut of the film features a breathtaking 7.5-minute dogfight sequence, but to achieve those few minutes of movie magic required an astonishing 45 hours of flight time. Ken's daughter added another fascinating detail. 2 Little Nellies were built. One was a static model that Sean Connery himself sat in for close-ups against a blue screen. But the second one? Her father flew that one for every single piece of aerial footage, swooping over volcanoes and dodging enemy helicopters, becoming the unsung hero of one of Bond's most memorable scenes. Stephen Lane was visibly moved. Well, I think it's a beautiful vehicle, it's a wonderful thing, he said with genuine reverence. He acknowledged that the gyrocopter itself was beyond valuation on the day. It was part of a charitable collection, a piece of history to be preserved and shared. I think it's an amazing thing that should be treasured. It should remain on display as much as possible, for the general public to see. But the story wasn't over. Together with Little Nellie today, you've brought in some cases, haven't you? Stephen prompted. Dotted around the gyrocopter were 4 large, unassuming cases. To the casual observer, they were just storage. To a Bond fan, they were the key to the entire gadget. What we're actually seeing here in these cases is the components, Steven explained, his excitement building once more. He was referencing the classic